Hello everyone, Sir Devna here, and honestly, I did not think I'll be making a tutorial, especially because I'm pretty new to Unity and game development myself. However, when I was working on my 3D diving game, I found it pretty difficult to work with 3D animations. And especially when it came to me just wanting the arms part of the animations from Mixamo, I could not find any tutorials on how to do it, which kinda led me to find a workaround, which at least for me works pretty well, and I want to share it with everyone. So here I am, and I'll be starting from beginning, from importing the character model to making the whole body animation, and then I'll be moving to just the arms or whatever body part you need animation. And here are the timestamps for each, and let's get started. Now for this tutorial, I am assuming that you have your scene and character control set up and that you're ready to import the character model. And of course for this we'll be using Mixamo, which is a free website with great animations and character assets you can use for your games. Just make a free account. I'll be logging in because I already have one. Once you log in, let's go to characters and let's choose any character model you want. I chose Astra, so let's go download. Make sure she's in T-pose and make sure the format is FBX binary. Once the model is downloaded, let's go back to Unity and make a folder for it. And then open that folder and open your downloads and drag it into this folder. Perfect. Now, if you were to use it right now, you would notice that it doesn't really look like it does in Mixamo. Well, there's a really easy solution to that, and all you have to do is press it right here, and on top here, go to materials and extract textures. I'll make a textures folder because I don't have one. And then choose this textures folder to extract to. Perfect. And if you do get this message up here, just press fix now and it will resolve itself. How nice. And now the same thing for materials. Let's extract materials. I do have materials folder, so I'll just do it into here. Perfect. And now your character is set up, and all you have to do is now replace this boring capsule with your character. And there we go, our character now has a model, which is cool, but if you were to press play, quickly realize it's not so cool because it's just a T-pose and nothing really happens. So let's add some animations. And of course, to use animations, let's first choose what animation we actually want. So back in Mixamo, make sure you have your character selected and let's go to animations. And here, choose any animation you want for your character. I'll be using the swim idle animation, so let's go to download. Make sure to choose without skin, none for keyframe reduction, 30 frames per second, and for format, FBX binary once again. Quick note before we move forward, and that is, if you choose one of these moving animations like this, make sure to check in place. Trust me when I say this, it will save you a headache unless your game actually needs it. First check in place and then download. Once the animation is downloaded, let's go back to Unity, make a new folder for the animations. Open the animations folder, and then let's go to our downloads and drag the downloaded animation into this folder. There we go. And to actually be able to use animation, we first have to go back to assets, into our models, into our character model, and up here go to rig, make sure from generic to humanoid, because that's what Mixamo rigged this model as a humanoid, and create from this model standard 4 bones, and let's press apply. And pretty much what we did is create an avatar for our character. Now we can go back to our assets, into the animation we downloaded, and here in the rig, we select humanoid the same as our model and create from other avatar and select our avatar we just created from our model. And press apply. So now our animation is ready to be applied to our character. But before that, if we go back to the animation tab right here, let's first rename our animation and make sure to turn on loop time, which pretty much makes it loop infinitely, and press apply. And now to actually play an animation our character, we go to the model. We have an animator here, which is empty. So let's create an animation controller call it something like player AC. And then of course drag this into the animation controller slot for the player. Now here, make sure you uncheck apply room motion because it will mess up your character positioning when it's in animation. And once we do that, let's double click on our player controller. There we go. And all we have to do now is to drag our animation here. And let's press play. And there we go. We have our swimming idle animation. And for a bonus tip for beginners, if you want a second animation and not sure how to change between the two, I'll run you through it. If you go back to Mixamo, let's choose a second animation. I'll choose swimming in my case. Make sure it's in place. And then download, and let's run through the same steps to set up an animation in Unity as we did before. So once you have your swimming animation set up, let's go back to the player controller and drag it into here. And to make a change between the idle and swimming animation, let's make two new parameters that are Boolean. The first one will be idle, and the second one will be swimming. Now that I have two parameters, we can tell that when we first enter the scene, it will go to idle. And let's make a transition into exit, and it will exit the animation if here's the condition, which we press plus, and if idle is false, it will exit the idle animation. Let's make sure that has exit time is unchecked so there's no delays, and make sure transition duration is 0. And now once the idle animation exits, it's gonna go back into it because there's no other conditions. So let's make a new transition to swimming. And here, let's press on the arrow. And if we do a condition, let's change idle to swimming condition. And if swimming is true, it will change into the swimming animation. And let's make also an exit, so it can also exit the animation. So here, let's press the arrow and condition, swimming into false. Let's have no exit time, so there's no delays. And here we have a setup for our code to interpret what animations we're using. So pretty much we're entering idle, for exiting if idle is false, and then same thing with swimming. We're entering if swimming is true, the animation will be swimming, and if it's false, it will stop the animation and go back to idle. And of course, the same logic will be reflected in your script, where you have the reference to the animator, right? And all of its booleans, and then if the player is swimming, it will set idle to false and swimming to true. And if the player isn't swimming and it's also not in idle, which means it just stopped swimming, it will set swimming to false and idle to true. With this, we can go back to our game scene and press play. And there we go, we're in idle, and once we move, we're in the swimming animation. Very cool. Now, the only reason my animations or camera positioning is a bit off is because the second animation is very horizontal, or it goes very low, and that's more of a camera positioning issue, which I won't get into. And now we have a full body animation from Mixamo in Unity. Very cool. But let's say in my example, it's a diving game. So realistically, I don't need the full body, I just need the hands. So how can I use the animations from Mixamo while not having my whole body in the scene? And this can also work with any other body part, like legs or anything else you need. So let's run through that next. Starting from beginning in Mixamo, let's go to characters and choose the model we want. In my case, I'm going with Astra one more time. Let's press download, make sure she's in T-pose, and the format is FBX binary. And once it's downloaded, I'm just gonna change the name to player base. And then drag it into Unity. And then go to the player base model. And the only thing we're gonna have to do is up here on rig, change it from generic to humanoid, create from this model, and standard for bones. Apply. Future me here, and if you skip the first few parts of the video and wondering why your model is fully white, well, there's an easy fix to that. And all you have to go is to your model, and in the same spot where we rigged it, at the top right here, materials, and what we have to do is extract textures. I'll make a textures folder because I don't have one. Select this folder and then extract it to here. And if you get this pop-up right here, just press fix now and it will resolve itself. Very nice. And the same thing we will do with materials. I have a materials folder, so I'll just choose that and then select folder. There we go. And then your model should be fully textured. I just wanted to mention that because having a fully rigged and a fully textured player base model is very important for the next few steps. And I'll list why here. It'll make more sense later. For the next part, we'll be using Blender, but don't worry, I'll make it super simple so that even a Blender noob can follow. So once we load Blender, let's go to the right here, select everything, and delete. Then go to File, Import, and then to FBX, and choose or find our player model, or player base model as I called it. Import. Now that we're here, let's press the empty space in the background to unselect everything. And at the top here, press this little option so we can see wireframe mode. Then select everything and then press tab. This way you see all the vertices of our model plus its bones. Since I just need the arms of my characters, all I'm gonna do is select everything but the arms, right click, and press delete vertices. And in your case, it could be anything else. Maybe if you're doing legs, just select everything but legs and delete all the vertices. But one thing, make sure to keep the bones. Do not delete the bones. That's very important. Once we deleted everything we don't need, let's press tab again. And then right click on this orange dot, set origin, and origin to geometry. There we go. All that's left is to go to File, Export as a FBX, and I'll name it Player Hands. And export. And now we can go back to Unity, go to our downloads, and drag the player hands model we just made in Blender into Unity. Very cool. Now if we go to this hands model and go up here to rig and choose animation type to humanoid and create from this model and 4 bones and apply, we will see an error. And this is because if you press here into configure, Unity doesn't know where the rest of the bones are. But wait, we never deleted all the bones. So technically they are still all there, it just Unity wasn't able to place them correctly. And even if you go right here, and yes, in fact, all the bones are still here. And that's exactly why I made the player base model and rigged it so that we can go to configure right here and we can see all the right bone placements for the character. So what I want to do from here is take a screenshot of the bone references in the right place. And say body bones. And then the same thing for the head. Head bones. And then let's go back to our hand model. And then here, let's pull out our bone reference for the body. Expand it a bit. And then let's just map it from here to here. So for example, upper leg, and it's the left up leg. And then the rest the same way. Apply, and let's do the same thing for the head bones. And then once everything is mapped correctly, like the full body bones, let's apply and done. And now the rig should work as a humanoid rig while the model is only the hands. That's exactly what we want. And now that our hand animations are ready for animation, let's put it into our scene and make it the main model. There we go. Let's just give this model a animation controller. Something like player hands AC. And then let's give it right here. There we go. And we can open it. Back in Mixamo, while having our character selected, let's find an animation we want for our hands. I'm going to be choosing this animation. So let's go to download and make sure without skin. Keyframe reduction to none. Frames per second to 30, and format FBX binary. Download. And then in Unity, let's go to downloads. I'm just gonna rename the animation I just downloaded. And let's drag it into Unity. In the animation, let's select it, and rig, let's go to humanoid, copy from other avatar, and right here, if I were to choose the player hands avatar I just made, it would give me an error. And that's why also another use of making a player base avatar, which has the full model and bones, so that I can use it here. There we go. Now there's no errors, and it should still work with the hands because it's almost the same thing. And then let's go to animation, rename the animation. Right? There we go. And make sure it loops. Apply. And now we can just drag our animation into the player hands controller. There we go. And if you start the scene, we should see our hands moving nicely. There we go. So we have our Mixamo animation, but with only the hands, without needing the whole body. And it's just a matter of placement. Much better. One more thing, even though the bones are invisible, if we take a look at my player hands, we can see that they do in fact move in the background. And one way to prevent this, and to I guess better clean this up, is to create a avatar mask. In my case, I'll call it hand mask. And then on humanoid right here, select only, in my case, the hands, but whatever body part you want to see animated. So let's do that. There we go. And then we go to the animator. And here, let's first delete this animation. And up here, let's go from parameters to layers and add a new layer. And let's call it the hand layer. In the settings, let's make sure the weight is 1. And let's apply the mask we just created, the hand mask. And then make sure that the blending is override. And then let's change to the hand layer and drag the animation here instead. This way, when we go back to our game scene and press play, the other bones, which are not the hands, are not moving anymore. The only thing that's left is to fix our hand positioning one more time. And there we have it. We have a clean hand animation from Mixamo without requiring a full body. Very cool. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope this tutorial has helped you, and if it did, please consider liking and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.